I can soon change that. No. My name's Dave. I'm going to take you underground. So, anybody been underground before? Yeah. Okay. Anybody done this tour before?
No.
Great. It means I can make it up as I go along. Now, what's going to happen in 2 minutes? We're going to go through the cave entrance just down here. Now we go at this level. We come out on top of the hill. Between here and there's actually 175 steps. However, there is good news. 16 of those go down. Hold on to that thought. Okay, just leaves 159 going up, but they're not all together, they're split up. So about a third of the way underground we'll come across 40 concrete steps. All the rest of the steps come at the end. Okay, now we've got to keep moving because there's going to be another tour coming behind us in about 20 minutes. We're not going to rush it. Okay, we'll have plenty of time to talk and chat and whatever. So underground, if you're taller than 5 feet tall, you know who you are. There's times when you either duck or you learn to limbo dance very quickly, because that's where the rocks come down to. All right. Now it's not everywhere, just 1 or 2 places in the tunnels. In the caverns, you are fine. All right. Underground, it's going to be a little bit dark, a little bit wet, a little bit muddy in places. All right. So just be careful of nice white clean trainers or whatever. All right. Now it's going to take us roughly 30 minutes to get from here to the top of the hill, and that's why I leave you to walk back down at your own pace. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right. Good. Last thing to mention, when we go through the cave entrance, just be careful, there's a steep slope down and it's wet underfoot. Now anywhere on this journey, if there's a slope or a step, there's always a handrail. My advice to you is just put your hand on top of the handrail, and if you slip, grab it, okay? This slope lasts for about 25 meters, so it's quite a long slope down. Right, having said all that, are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Right, come on, let's follow me. So on this journey I'm going to take you into 3 caverns, and this is the first one here. Now these caverns have been down here for roughly 350 million years. Now if you were stood here 350 million years ago, you would be standing on the bottom of a tropical sea, a bit like the Caribbean is today. Okay? Because back then 9/10 of the planet was covered in water. Now in that sea there were things called crinoids, which is like a sea lily, and coral will be flourishing. But the only things swimming around in that sea at that time were some shellfish called brachiopods and trilobites. Now when the shellfish died, they sank to the bottom in the silt, and over millions of years the shells built up, and with pressure of the water it solidified into stone. It became what we call limestone, and all this stone around you here is limestone, or dead fish, call it what you like. But that's what it is, and it's very, very stable. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay, now then, we're going to go a little bit of a walk, so follow me. Okay, mind your head here, it's a bit low.
ده انت صار كتب
ده يوصله وشل قدمه ده بريمسا ومن جنة كذا
Deep underground, mineral-rich fluids crystallize in joints and cracks. Some will become valuable lead ore. But the caverns remain undiscovered. Their secret is hidden. Time passes, and tectonic plates slowly alter the Earth's surface, forming new continents. Fish, dinosaurs, and numerous plant species start to inhabit these lands. and life slowly evolves over the next 180 million years. Then, one devastating day, a massive asteroid impacts planet Earth and triggers violent volcanic eruptions. Ash and dust block out the sun, causing the ecosystem to collapse, and the dinosaurs, along with some animals and plants, die out. As the land we call Britain drifts northwards, the climate gradually cools and glaciers form, hundreds of meters thick in places. Storms, snow, and ice repeatedly come and go. It will be thousands of years before the temperatures begin to rise, and icy meltwaters scour the rocks, filling the caverns with sand and silt. As the glaciers melt, the landscape and coastline of Britain slowly emerges, and early humans arrive. But the hidden caverns still keep their secret. Hundreds of years go by, and people discover how to use metal. Lead becomes a valuable resource, and during the Roman conquest is mined extensively in Derbyshire. Our story is nearly over. Lead mining is established as an industry. Local miners dig deeper and deeper, removing all the glacial sand and silt to reveal more of the valuable ore and minerals. It is their hard labour that opens up the cavern that you see today.
The proper name is Galena, and Galena means bright one or shiny one, and you can see why. So the lead will be stuck onto the limestone, and this is what the miners will be hacking off, putting the lead into little wooden buckets and carried it all the way back out to that first cavern. Because in the first cavern there's a mine shaft that goes up to the surface, and that's where they pulled it up. Now, as you came to that tunnel, do you see lots of sparkly bits in the stonework? Okay, that's a crystal called calcite, and I've got a bit here. But it's not sparkly until you put a torch under it, and then it will start to glow. Now we use calcite today. We actually grind this down into a powder, and then we mix it with white paint. And then we slap it on the roads. These are the white lines on the road. So as you drive along at night, headlights go over the white lines, they'll sparkle. That's the calcite. However, there's a flip side to calcite you need to understand, because calcite is used as a bulking agent in paracetamol. So heads up, if you take too many paracetamol and then you stand in front of a bright light, if your tummy goes this colour, you know what's going on, okay? But if you want to see calcite, all that under there is calcite. Now that's what we call a geode. Now that was created millions of years ago under the seabed, and it's a fine example. Now there's some more calcite above here. Now then, for the older members of the group, we call this Mick Jagger because of the lips. So, back in the 1600s, mining was a family affair. Everybody got involved. So head of the family, the man, normally the miner down here. Ladies, you had a special job on the surface. You had to look after the winch, or stouse as it was called, which involved a long rope attached to this wooden bucket called a kibble. Ladies, your job was to lower the bucket down the mine shaft to the miner. Now on this hillside, some mine shafts are 250 feet deep, and you have to lower the bucket all the way down to the bottom. When you got to the bottom, the miner would fill the bucket up with lead. Now this is where the fun begins, ladies, because your job by hand is to wind the bucket back up to the top. Easy. No, because when that bucket's filled with lead, it weighed anything between 70 and 80 kilograms. A heavy weight which you had to pull up all day long. And when you got it to the top, you tip the bucket out, wash the dirt off the lead, and then you'd heat the lead up. Now you heat the lead up to make it more pliable so you could pull it away from the limestone it's attached to. Well, nowadays we know that when you heat lead up, it gives off those toxic vapours. But back in the day, the ladies didn't know that, and they inhaled them all. And that is why the life expectancy of ladies working on the surface was only 30 years, 30. A very short life indeed. Now down here, the men was handling lead, so they had absorption through the skin, but that's not the same as breathing it in. And the men lived a lot longer. Now in a minute you're going to go up these stairs through the next chamber. When you walk through the next chamber, high up on the right hand side, you'll see some initials carved in the stone, what we call a miner's plaque. The miners put their initials into the stone to lay claim to the minerals in the mine. One of those initials is MF, stands for a guy called Mordecai Fern. He worked down here for many years. Now he died at the ripe old age of 103. I know. So there's a big difference between ladies 30 and men 103. But it was rumoured at the time that a male miner would probably have, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, probably 9 wives in his lifetime. The only reason being, the miner had to have a wife to pull that bucket up. That was hard life, ladies. I'm sorry, but I think you got the short end of the stick there. Anyway, also on that miner's plaque is initials TW. Now it's a sad story. TW stands for Thomas Wood. Thomas started working down here when he was 6 years old. Now it sounds awful now, but back then that was normal. If you were born into a mining family, you became a miner. You had no other choice, that was it. Now unfortunately for Thomas, the day before his 16th birthday, there was a rockfall and he was killed. But he is the only known death in this mine. Makes you think, doesn't it? Now, very quickly before the next group comes down. A lot of people think the miners lived on top of this hillside. No, they didn't. They lived in the villages 3 or 4 miles away. Every morning they get up, walk 3 or 4 miles to the mine shaft, climb down the 250-foot mine shaft, and by climb down I mean handball it all the way down to the bottom, then work anything from 8, 10, 12 hours underground mining for lead. At the end of which, they'd climb back up and walk the 3 or 4 miles home. And that was their daily commute. They did it, when I say they, I mean men, women and the children did it every single day. Hard life, I think. Very hard life. Right, I've been talking too much. Any questions from you? No? Good group, I like you. Now, let me explain what's going to happen now. Okay, now then, you're going to walk up these stairs. But as you go up these stairs, just be careful of this rock here. It's a very special rock with a special name. It's called Headache Rock. It's quite low down, so duck underneath it. So you're going to walk up, walk to the next chamber, look at those initials on the wall, but then you come to the last set of steps. Don't rush. There's 80 steps to go. So take your time going up the steps. When you get to the top and freedom, if you look up the hillside, if the sun's shining, you'll see a platform. That's what we call Tinker's Shaft. Okay, it's a mine shaft that comes out just down here. But it's also the viewing platform, and if the sun's shining, no better place. And there's some information boards around it as well. It tells you what took place on top of this hillside. So it's well worth a visit, if it's not raining. If it's raining, my advice to you is turn right when you get at the top, back down the hill and back onto site as soon as you can. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming down.
Thank you.
Have a safe journey back. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.
Sağ olasın.